The marble floors gleamed under the afternoon sun as I stood in the penthouse overlooking the harbor. My husband, Michael Hayes, moved through the space with the confidence of a man who owned everything he touched. And in many ways, he did. Luxury cars, private jets, real estate across 3 continents. But what he didn't own, what he never truly had, was my truth. My name is Elena Cordova, 40 years old, wife of 15 years to one of the wealthiest developers on the East Coast. To the world, I was the perfect partner. Elegant, composed, supportive. I attended his galas. I smiled in photographs. I played the role he designed for me without question. But Michael never bothered to learn much about me. He never asked where my family came from or what language my grandmother whispered to me as a child. He assumed I was exactly what I appeared to be: compliant, quiet, and monolingual. That was his first mistake. On this particular Tuesday in late October, we were touring a waterfront property with a realtor named Lucia Morales. She was polished and professional, carrying a leather folder and speaking in measured tones. The space was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a chef's kitchen, a view that stretched endlessly over the water. "This would be perfect for entertaining clients," Michael said, his hand grazing the granite countertop. Lucia nodded politely. "It's one of our premier listings. Very private. Very exclusive." Then Michael did something that would change everything. He turned to Lucia and spoke in Spanish. His tone was casual, almost careless. "Está perfecto para cuando me deshaga de ella." This one is perfect for when I get rid of her. My heart stopped. Lucia's eyes flicked toward me, searching for a reaction. But I gave her nothing. I kept my expression neutral, my breathing steady. I had learned long ago how to disappear into the background. Michael continued, his voice smooth and unbothered. "La otra, ya sabe del lugar. En 2 semanas firmo los papeles del fideicomiso modificado. Después de eso, todo será mío." The other one already knows about the place. In 2 weeks, I signed the modified trust papers. After that, everything will be mine. The other one, not a name, not a person. Just a placeholder for the woman he planned to replace me with. I turned toward the window, my reflection ghostly against the glass. I looked like a stranger to myself. A woman in a cream dress Michael had chosen. Conservative, neutral, invisible, everything he wanted me to be. But inside, my mind was racing. Modified trust papers. 2 weeks. The other one, Michael had been planning this, quietly, methodically, and he believed. I had no idea. Lucia cleared her throat. "Would you like to see the master suite?" "Yes," I said aloud in English, my voice calm. "I'd love to." We walked down a hallway lined with soft lighting. Michael followed behind, already distracted by his phone. He always was. Late nights at the office. Weekend conferences. Business trips that stretched longer than expected. A wife becomes wallpaper after 15 years. The master bedroom was stunning. Soft gray walls. A walk-in closet larger than most apartments. I could picture Michael here with someone else. Someone younger. Someone who didn't yet know how controlling he could be. "El closet es amplio," Lucia said, opening the double doors. "Perfecto para sus cosas. Ella no tiene mucho de todos modos." The closet is spacious. Perfect for her things. She doesn't have much anyway. Michael chuckled softly. That hurt more than I expected, because he was right. I didn't have much. Not anymore. Over the years, he had systematically stripped away everything that made me me. My friends were too opinionated. My hobbies were impractical. My voice was cute, but ultimately irrelevant. I had become a shadow in my own life. But Michael didn't know something crucial. He didn't know that my grandmother, Isabella Cordova, had raised me in a bilingual home in San Diego. He didn't know that Spanish was my first language. He didn't know that every single word he had just spoken, every cruel dismissal, every calculated plan, I had understood completely. And now, standing in this beautiful empty penthouse, I realized something else. I wasn't going to let him erase me, not without a fight. The car ride home felt suffocating. Michael drove his black Range Rover through evening traffic while I stared out the window, my purse clutched tightly in my lap. My mind replayed every word he had said in Spanish, every dismissive comment, every cold calculation. 2 weeks. That was all the time I had. That last property was impressive, Michael said, his voice casual. Though I think we need something bigger. 4 bedrooms minimum. For her, I thought. For the other one. Whatever you think is best, I replied softly. He patted my knee briefly. That's my girl. Always so agreeable. My girl, like I was a pet. A possession. Something he could discard when I no longer served his purpose. We pulled into the driveway of our estate 20 minutes later. The house was a sprawling colonial in an exclusive neighborhood. 5 bedrooms we rarely used. A pool we never swam in. A lawn maintained by professionals. It looked like success from the outside. Most prisons. Michael's phone rang as we stepped inside. He glanced at the screen, and his expression softened in a way I hadn't seen in years. I need to take this, he said, walking toward his study. Work call. Work call. Right. I heard him speaking Spanish again before he closed the door. Está bien, Carico. Sí, mañana por la noche. It's fine, darling. Yes, tomorrow night, Carico. Darling, a word he hadn't used with me in over 3 years. I walked upstairs to our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. The room was decorated in shades of white and gray, cold, sterile. Michael's aesthetic. I had wanted warmth, color, life, but that wasn't what he wanted. My hands were trembling now. I pressed them flat against my thighs and forced myself to breathe. Think, Elena, think. What did I know? Michael was planning to leave me. He was modifying our trust to lock me out financially. He had another woman waiting in the wings, and he believed I was completely clueless. But I wasn't, and that gave me an advantage. I stood and walked to Michael's study. The door was closed, but not locked. It never was. He didn't think I had any reason to invade his privacy. I pressed my ear against the wood. No, she doesn't suspect anything, Michael was saying in English now. She's completely oblivious. By the time she realizes what's happening, everything will be secured. Silence as the other person spoke. The trust modification is airtight. My attorney assured me. Once I sign those papers, everything transfers into an account she can't access. The house, the investments, all of it. My stomach twisted. She get whatever the court mandates for spousal support, he continued. But that's pennies compared to what I'm protecting. And with the prenup we signed, she can't claim much anyway. Pre-NUP. We had signed one before the wedding. Michael said it was standard. I never read it carefully. I trusted him. What a fool I had been. All right, Michael said warmly. See you tomorrow night. I love you too. I stepped away from the door quickly and moved to the kitchen. By the time Michael emerged 10 minutes later, I was chopping vegetables, looking exactly like the obedient wife he thought he had. Smells good, he said, loosening his tie. What are we having? Chicken and roasted vegetables. Great, I have some paperwork to finish. Call me when it's ready. He left without. Another glance. I set down the knife and leaned against the counter. 2 weeks. I needed to act fast. I needed documentation, evidence, proof of everything he was. Planning. But more than that, I needed money. A place to go. A way to protect myself. because Michael had resources, lawyers, influence. And if I wasn't prepared, he would destroy me. After dinner, I told Michael I was going to take a bath. Instead, I went to his study. My heart pounded as I opened the file cabinets as quietly as possible. I found folders labeled trust documents, investment accounts, property holdings. I pulled out my phone and began photographing every page. Bank statements showing accounts I didn't know existed. Investment portfolios worth millions. Property deeds with only his name, even though we bought them during our marriage. Then I found a folder labeled legal strategy. Inside were emails between Michael and a divorce attorney, dated 6 months ago. 6 months. He had been planning this for half a year. The attorney's letter outlined the strategy clearly: modify the trust to protect assets, file for divorce citing irreconcilable differences, use the prenup to minimize spousal support, keep everything quiet. I photographed it all. Elena? Michael called from downstairs. Everything okay? I froze. Yes, I called back, my voice somehow steady. Just finishing up. I quickly closed the folders and slipped out of the study. I turned on the bathtub and sat on the closed toilet lid, my hands shaking violently now. I had evidence, but what was I supposed to do with it? My grandmother's voice echoed in my mind, a memory from childhood. Mia, cuando un hombre te muestra quién es, creo la primera vez. When a man shows you who he is, believe him the first time. Michael had shown me who he was, and I believed him now. I wasn't going to wait for him to destroy me. I was going to fight back. I barely slept that night. I lay beside Michael in the darkness, listening to him breathe, and felt nothing. No love, no anger. Just cold, clear resolve. By morning, I had a plan. I needed 3 things: a lawyer, access to my own money, and a place to go. While Michael showered, I searched online for family law attorneys who specialized in high net worth divorces. One name kept appearing: Victoria Brennan. Her website featured a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a tagline that read, "Protecting your future when your marriage ends." I sent an email requesting a consultation. Then I remembered something my grandmother had told me years ago. Before she passed away, she had set up a trust fund for me. Michael had been dismissive when I mentioned it. Probably barely enough for a vacation, he'd said. I never brought it up again, but now I needed to know. I found the contact information for the trust administrator, a law firm in San Diego. The attorney's name was Marcus Delgado. I wrote a careful email. Dear Mr. Delgado, my name is Elena Cordova Hayes. My grandmother, Isabella Cordova, established a trust for me approximately 12 years ago. I need to access information about this trust and discuss withdrawal options. Please contact me at your earliest convenience. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Michael came downstairs 20 minutes later, dressed in a charcoal suit. Big day at the office, he said, pouring coffee. Might be late tonight. Late meant dinner with her. I'll keep dinner simple, I said. He kissed the top of my head absently and left. Waited until his car disappeared down the street. Then I got to work. Victoria Brennan's office called me back within 2 hours. Mrs. Hayes, Victoria has an opening tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Can you make it? Yes, I said immediately. Please bring any documentation you have regarding marital assets, property, and prenuptial agreements. There's a consultation fee of $300. $300. I had maybe $400 in an old checking account Michael didn't monitor. That's fine. Thank you. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my hands. I was really doing this. My phone buzzed. An email from Marcus Delgado. Dear Mrs. Hayes, I remember your grandmother well. She was an extraordinary woman. I'd be happy to discuss the trust with you. The current balance is approximately $175,000. Please call my office to schedule a phone consultation. I read the email 3 times. $175,000. Michael had said it. Was barely enough for a vacation. He had lied. Or he had never asked. Either way, he had dismissed it as irrelevant, which meant he hadn't factored it into his plans. This was my safety net. My escape fund. I called Marcus Delgado's office immediately and scheduled a call for that afternoon. The rest of the morning, I moved through the house like a stranger, looking at everything differently. The furniture Michael had chosen. The art he bought without asking my opinion. The color scheme he preferred. None of it was mine. None of it ever had been at 3 o'clock. I called Marcus. He answered warmly. Mrs. Hayes, it's good to hear from you. Your grandmother spoke of you often. She did? She did. She worried about you, actually. Said you had married a man who didn't see your light. Tears stung my eyes. She had known. I'm leaving my marriage, I said quietly. And I need to protect myself financially. I understand. Your grandmother would be proud of you for taking this step. The trust is in your name only. You're the sole beneficiary. I can transfer the full amount to any account you designate. How long will it take? 3 business days. 3 days. I could do this. I'll open a new account tomorrow, I said, and send you the information. Perfect, Mrs. Hayes? Yes? Your grandmother set up this trust specifically so you will always have independence. She was very clear about that. I closed my eyes. Thank you, Mr. Delgado. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house and allowed myself to cry, not from sadness, but from relief, because I wasn't trapped. I wasn't helpless. I had resources Michael didn't know about, and I was going to use them. That evening, Michael came home at 9 o'clock, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't mine. Sorry I'm late, he said, not sounding sorry at all. Client dinner ran over. It's fine, I said. I saved you a plate. He ate while scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging me. I watched him from across the table and felt nothing, no pain. No betrayal, just clarity. This man had planned my destruction for 6 months, and I was going to make sure he failed. The next day, I met with Victoria Brennan. Her office was downtown, sleek and modern. She greeted me with a firm handshake and led me into a conference room with a view of the city. Tell me everything, she said, opening a notepad. I told her. The Spanish conversation, the trust modification, the other woman, the hidden accounts, the divorce attorney. All of it. Victoria took notes, her expression neutral but focused. When I finished, she set down her pen. First, you did exactly the right thing by documenting everything. Second, your husband is engaging in financial fraud and asset concealment. Third, you have more power here than you realize. I do? Absolutely. This state has community property laws. Everything acquired during your marriage belongs equally to both of you, regardless of whose name is on the title. The trust modification he's attempting? If it's designed to hide marital assets before a divorce, that's illegal. Hope flickered in my chest. So he can't just take everything? No, he cannot. And the fact that you have documentation of his plans will help us immensely. Victoria leaned forward. But I need to be honest with you, Elena. This will be a fight. Your husband has resources. He's been planning this. We need to move quickly. How quickly? Ideally, you file for divorce before he does. That way, we control the narrative. We can request injunctions preventing him from moving assets. Can you do that? Yes, but I need you to be ready. I took a breath. I'm ready. Within 48 hours. Everything moved faster than I expected. Dot opened a new bank account at a credit union across town, one Michael would never use. I provided the account information to Marcus Delgado. 3 business days later, $175,000 appeared in my account. My safety net. My independence. Meanwhile, Victoria's legal team began drafting divorce papers. She requested financial disclosures, property valuations, and copies of every document I had photographed. "We're going to file on Monday," Victoria told me during a phone call. "That gives you the weekend to prepare. Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" "I'm working on it." "Work fast. Men like your husband don't react well to losing control." I spent the weekend searching for apartments. I found a small 1-bedroom unit in a quiet neighborhood. Clean, affordable, available immediately. I signed the lease on Sunday. By Monday morning, I had moved my essentials, clothes, personal items, documents into the new place. Michael was traveling for business. He wouldn't notice I was gone until he returned Wednesday. Victoria filed the divorce papers Monday afternoon. By law, Michael had to be served within 72 hours. Victoria arranged for him to be served at his office on Wednesday at noon. I spent Tuesday setting up my apartment. It wasn't much. A bed, a small couch, a table. But it was mine. Wednesday morning, I turned off my phone and waited. At 12:30, my phone lit up with missed calls. 20-3 from Michael. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded everything to Victoria. She called me an hour later. He's furious. His attorney contacted me within minutes. They want to negotiate immediately. Already? Already. He knows you have documentation of his plans. He knows he's caught. He's trying to control the damage now. What do I do? Nothing. You let me handle it. You stay safe. Let me fight this battle. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael's legal team tried everything. Emergency, motions to freeze accounts, claims that I had hidden money, accusations of emotional instability. But Victoria countered every single move. She presented bank records showing Michael's shell companies. She submitted emails proving his affair. She provided evidence of his attempts to modify the trust. Fraudulently, the narrative began to shift. Michael wasn't the victim. He was the architect of his own downfall. Still, I didn't hear from him directly. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. And in that silence, I realized something. I didn't need his acknowledgement. I didn't need closure. I just needed my freedom. And I was already taking it. Part 5. The act of kindness or courage. 2 months after I filed for divorce, something unexpected happened. I received an email from Lucia Morales, the realtor who had been with us that day at the penthouse. The subject line read, "I owe you an apology." I hesitated before opening it. Inside, the message was brief. "Mrs. Hayes, I wanted to reach out and sincerely apologize for my part in what happened. I should have warned you about what your husband was planning. I was unprofessional, and I'm deeply sorry. I hope you're doing well." I stared at the email for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Thank you for the apology. I'm doing better than well. I'm doing great." And I meant it because I was. I had an apartment I loved. I had money in the bank. I had my independence. Most importantly, I had myself back. Around this time, I also reconnected with an old friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Her name was Carmen Ruiz. We had been close in college before I married Michael. He had never liked her. Said she was too outspoken. Too intense. So I had let the friendship fade. But now, I reached out. We met for coffee on a Saturday morning. Carmen looked exactly the same. Bright eyes, warm smile. The kind of person who made you feel seen. "Elena," she said, hugging me tightly. "It's so good to see you." "I'm sorry I disappeared," I said. "Don't apologize. Life happens. But I'm really glad you're here now. We talked for 2 hours. I told her everything. The Spanish conversation, the betrayal, the divorce, the fight. Carmen listened without judgment. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. I never liked him, she said gently. I tried to tell you back then. But you were in love. I know. I should have listened. No, you loved him. That's not wrong. He's the one who turned out to be terrible. She squeezed my hand. What can I do to help? Over the following weeks, Carmen became my anchor. She helped me furnish my apartment. She invited me to dinners with her friends. She reminded me what real friendship looked like. One evening, she asked me something unexpected. Elena, what do you want to do now? Like, for work, for your life. I hadn't thought about it. For 15 years, my identity had been Michael's wife. I had never considered what I wanted beyond that. I don't know, I admitted. Well, what did you love before you got married? I thought back. I loved design. Interior design. I studied it in college, so why not go back to it? I haven't done it in years. So? You're still the same person. Maybe even better now. Her words stayed with me. A week later, I enrolled in a design workshop at a local community college. Just a weekend course. But it felt like stepping back into a part of myself I had forgotten existed. The instructor was a woman named Nora Simmons. She was in her 60s, vibrant and passionate about her work. Design isn't just about aesthetics, she told the class. It's about creating spaces where people can feel safe, feel seen, feel alive. I realized that was exactly what I was doing for myself, creating a space where I could finally feel alive. By the end of the course, Nora approached me. You have a real eye for this, she said. Have you ever thought about doing it professionally? Not in a long time. Well, you should. The world needs more designers who understand that spaces are more than just pretty rooms. They're sanctuaries. Her words planted a seed. What if I could do this? What if I could build something for myself? Not for Michael. Not for anyone else. Just for me. 4 months after filing for divorce, the case finally went to mediation. Victoria and I sat on one side of a long conference table. Michael and his attorney, a stern man named Richard Cross, sat on the other. A mediator named Angela Torres sat at the head. Michael looked older, tired. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Angela explained the process. Both sides would present their positions. We would negotiate until we reached an agreement or declared an impasse. Richard Cross went first. Given the prenuptial agreement and Mrs. Hayes's lack of financial contribution to the marriage, we believe a 30% division of assets is generous. Victoria didn't even pause. That's insulting. This state has community property laws. Everything acquired during the marriage is jointly owned, regardless of who earned the income. Our position is 50%. That's not realistic, Richard argued. It's exactly realistic. Would you like me to present our evidence of Mr. Hayes' attempts to fraudulently conceal assets? Michael shifted uncomfortably. Richard glanced at him, then back at Victoria. Perhaps we can find middle ground. We spent 4 hours negotiating. Numbers were written on whiteboards. Breaks were called. Private discussions were held. Finally, we reached an agreement. I would receive 45% of marital assets. I could choose to keep the house or take a cash equivalent. Retirement accounts would be split equally. I would receive 2 years of spousal support while I established myself financially. It wasn't everything, but it was fair. Do you agree to these terms? Angela asked me. I looked at Michael across the table. He was staring at his hands, his jaw tight. This man who had controlled my life for 15 years, who had planned to leave me with nothing. Yes, I said firmly. I agree. We signed papers. It was done. After months of fighting, the marriage was officially ending, on terms that recognized my worth. Victoria and I walked out of the mediation together. "You did great in there," she said. "You stayed calm and clear. Thank you for everything. You're stronger than you think. Elena, you're going to be just fine." That night, I sat in my apartment and allowed myself to process what had happened. I was almost divorced. Soon, I would have significant money. I could do anything I wanted with my life. The weight of possibility was overwhelming, but I wasn't alone anymore. I had Carmen. I had Victoria. I had Nora. I had resources. I had skills. I had options. And most importantly, I had myself. Part 7. Redemption or Forgiveness. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. I received the settlement check and signed the final papers. Michael sent a brief email through his attorney. "Best wishes for your future." Cold. Formal. I deleted it without responding. I used part of the settlement to invest in myself. I hired a business consultant. I created a website. I designed business cards, and I launched my own interior design firm, Cordova Design Studio. My first client came through Nora's referral. A small residential project. Then another, and another. Word spread. Within 6 months, I had a steady stream of work. I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. One evening, Carmen invited me to dinner with a group of her friends. I almost said no. Social situations still felt uncomfortable, but I went anyway. At dinner, I met a man named Daniel Torres. He was quiet, thoughtful, and kind. He worked as an architect. We talked about design, about creativity, about starting over. "I went through a divorce 2 years ago," he said. "It's hard, rebuilding, but also necessary." "It is," I agreed. "Maybe we could grab coffee sometime," he said. "As friends. People who understand what it's like to start over." I smiled. "I'd like that." We exchanged numbers. No pressure. No expectations. Just connection. Over the next few months, Daniel and I became friends. We met for coffee. We talked about work. We supported each other, slowly, carefully. I began to trust again, not blindly, but intentionally. 1 year after I left Michael, I stood in the doorway of my design studio, a small office space I had rented downtown. The walls were painted soft blue. My portfolio was displayed on shelves. Fresh flowers sat on the desk. It was mine. I'd built it, not from revenge, but from resilience. Michael had tried to erase me. Instead, I had become more visible than ever. 2 years after the divorce, I received an unexpected call. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Hayes? This is Marcus Delgado. Mr. Delgado, is everything okay?" "Yes, I'm calling because your grandmother left something else for you. Journals. Detailed writings about her life. If you'd like copies, I can send them." "Yes, please." The journals arrived a week later. I spent an entire weekend reading them. Page after page of my grandmother's thoughts. Her struggles. Her victories. Her love for me. One entry, dated 10 years ago, made me cry. "My Elena is so bright, but I worry about her husband. He dims her light. I pray she finds the strength to leave before she disappears completely. I'm setting up the trust to give her options. Money is freedom. She must never forget that. She had known. She had seen what I couldn't see, and she had given me the tools to save myself." "Thank you, Abuela," I whispered. "You saved my life." Today, I run a successful design firm. I have friendships that nourish me. I have work that fulfills me. I even have someone in my life, Daniel, who sees me. Really sees me. We're taking things slow. But there's trust. There's respect. There's kindness. And that's everything I never sought revenge against. Michael, I simply refused to let him destroy. Me. Because the strongest act of defiance isn't violence. It's survival. It's rebuilding. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be, even after someone tries to erase you. Michael thought he could dispose of me like I was worthless. Instead, I discovered my worth on my own, and that is the greatest victory of all. The moral. True strength isn't found in controlling others. It's found in reclaiming yourself. When someone tries to make you invisible, the most powerful response is to become undeniably seen. You don't need permission to rebuild your life. You don't need validation from those who betrayed you. You just need courage, clarity, and the belief that you are worth fighting for. Because the people who underestimate you will never see you coming. And by the time they do, you'll already be free.